future thinking of education, they're starting to think that this is a good idea, bringing it together, and you're dealing with all of the subjects. So that's why they're asking you, again, the curriculum has been developed this way to start connecting the dots, so that you're not just doing, language, math by itself. You're seeing where the connections are in your science and your social studies, which
makes sense.
From primary sources like letters written from that time period, a lot of students don't understand what the language is. They're not strong in their language skills. So then you have to slow down and break that down as well, because they're not familiar with that style of writing. They no longer write that way.
The quality of the letters that we have, if they're from a microfilm or something, or it can be very hard to read, even though it's English and it's handwritten. And so that whole idea of the historian as an interpreter and looking at those primary documents and sometimes getting kids to go to the board and can you tell me what this letter is saying? That adds another element of engagement into the text and analysis of the text.
Absolutely. That's what I like about those things, though, is that they really have to think. It's not something flat out given. It's not an explicit thing. So they have to really kind of pick it apart to truly understand, well, what is the writer saying? And back then they used a lot of metaphors for things. And so they're not used to that kind of writing still. So getting that kind of dose of it, they really get a feel for how that person felt. And so that kind of point of view, it's great. And I know it's difficult to get sources of letters from each point of view, I suppose. But when you can find them, I think it's a really powerful thing, and they can really learn from it and connect and really understand. And then they're also more engaged in what they're actually learning. Because again, history can be a little dry, but when you add in those little dabbles, they can connect and really truly understand a little bit more and in depth. And so when they build that, they learn more and it sticks.
Because they become passionate about the journey, really, right?
And the question was, to what extent did the scandal actually have an impact on people's opinions? Because Johnny MacDonald, of course, gets reelected much later. And so she got into some of the statistics behind the number of seats and votes and so on, and found that it was pretty close in both when MacDonald lost and then when he came back in again. So there's an example of a primary source. She's using those statistics from that time period.
I think that's also a powerful connection to numeracy. We can really work on proportional reasoning and graphing and really connect all the other language, literacy, numeracy to these rich investigations in history.
Yeah, graphing always ties in beautifully to the social studies aspect, because statistics always comes into play, or they can create their own graphs really easily. Especially in the geography piece when they're combining the developing world versus the undeveloped world, and then just different countries within, even creating the population pyramids, all those things. So it ties in very, very well. I found for myself that's how I pulled a few other math marks too, to give the students another opportunity, and I tried to time it when we did our data management unit so that it would match up really well.
For geography, we've also used Gapfinder, which is good for analyzing graphs and that kind of thing, as well as pulling out a lot of information for geography.
Linear correlations. Oh, your Gapfinder's awesome. Hold on, I love Gapfinder.
The kids really love it too because it's very interactive. They get to use the technology. A great resource.
Each got clumped into groups. Then they were assigned a specific colony and had to find out what the strengths were, what the weaknesses were. Well, what do they need in order to grow, in order to be a better colony? So they had to create trade agreements with each colony to see what they would benefit. So let's say one had more lumber, one had more ships, then they would create the actual agreement to trade. And then at the end of all this now, they're actually piecing it all together and getting those pieces together and doing a speech to sort of say, well, should the colony join Confederation or should it not? But that's to justify it based on all the inquiry that they did, and also include pieces as to, well, the factors that led to Confederation, not all those applied to every single colony, so they have to tie those in as well. So you have three pieces that they were doing separately. They're now drawing in together as a group.
You had a lot of success with that too, right? The training.
Yeah,
Kids
they
were.
really,
Oh,
really
they
enjoyed
loved
that.
it, because then they had to get each agreement approved by the queen, being, well, me.
Yeah.
They love that.
Yeah.
So the idea that they had to dialogue between each colony and come to a agreement, and then come to the queen
Yeah.
to get it approved. And then if there's even a small change, they had to get it reapproved by everybody again.
Yeah.
And they really liked that, realizing, hey, this is a really long process.
Yeah.
So
They
a
really
lot of
got
good
into it. There were
conversations came from it.
discussions. There
Yeah.
were some heightened discussions between the colonies.
Yeah.
They really had a lot of fun with it.